All right, we're going to call to order the regular scheduled board meeting for Mount Diablo for October 5th. Ms. Hanson, would you like to join us? November 5th. It's her last meeting. She's just okay. Exactly. Okay, so we are reconvening. I'm going to do a quick roll call. Trustee Berkey. Here. Trustee Mayo. Here. Trustee Lawrence. Here. Trustee Hanson is here in the lobby. She's now coming. And I am Trustee Mason. And we're getting ready to start. I'm going to wait a minute and then we're going to pledge the flag. Before you have a seat, do you want to join us or lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Last time.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, we went into closed session at 5 for an hour, and then we came out and had a celebration for Ms. Hanson, which you'll be hearing more about in our board comments. But we still need to report out from our closed session. So on item 7.1, confidential student matters pursuant to Ed Code 35145.5, we received information. 7.2, anticipated litigation, conference with legal counsel pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9B, 2 cases, we received information. And 7.3, discipline, dismissal, release, or reassignment of public employee, Government Code Section 54957B1, we received information. And that takes us to public comment.
Mrs. Mason, I believe that we've had someone else join us on the guys.
Oh, and we have our student. I need to look to the left. And you are Natalia Soto. You are our, I'll call it now. That's not, yes, I remember. You can chime in at any point. You're a full board member tonight with everything except voting rights. And you're welcome to leave when you need to, because we understand you might have students, especially over there at college now. Okay, so our first public speaker, I always let the public know that we operate under the Brown Act, which means we can do one of 3 things, which is we can ask you a clarifying question, we can refer you to a staff member, or we can put your item on a future agenda. Having said that, the public may address the board regarding any item within the jurisdiction of the Board of Education of the Mount Diablo Unified School District that is not on this agenda. These presentations are limited to 3 minutes each, or a total of 30 minutes for all speakers, or the 3-minute limit may be shortened. If there are multiple speakers on any one subject, the public comment period may be moved to the end of the meeting. Speakers are not allowed to yield their time. Our first speaker would be Robin Eckert.
Good evening. My name is Robin Eckert, and I'm a parent of a junior at College Park High School. I'm also a parent member of the Safety Committee and the founding president of the College Park Visual Arts Booster. In addition, I'm also a parent member of the Site Council, and it's in this role that I address you tonight. The Site Council of College Park is currently preparing the single plan for student achievement, and as such, we are developing the expenditure items and budget for the 18-19 school year. In trying to prepare our budget, we recently learned the new Dean of Students position is to be funded out of site funds, specifically 0930 funding. In doing so, shouldering this budget item will decimate our funds, which support our most vulnerable student population. The Dean's position comprises 77% of the site budget for 0930. I've reviewed the board's decision on August 13th, in which the board approved the new Dean of Students for College Park, and the decision lists the funding source as unrestricted general funds. So why is College Park being asked to fund this position out of site 0930 funds? In addition, I combed through the board agenda meetings up until October and found no agenda items altering the funding decision for College Park Dean of Students. Please understand, I'm not questioning the need for the position, nor the impact it will have on our school. I'm questioning why the funding decision was changed and the burden of the salary was placed on College Park site funds. I have addressed this concern with Principal Alvarez. In addition, I have sent emails to the superintendent's office and the assistant superintendent regarding this funding issue and have yet to receive a reply. Therefore, I would like to request the board reaffirm the funding source as unrestricted general funds and allow College Park Site Council to budget all funds allotted to 0930 funding source without the hindrance of the dean's salary. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to a resolution on this matter.
Thank you. Our next speaker is familiar to us and may be having comments that are very sexually explicit. So if you have children in the room and you're not comfortable with that, I will give you time to opt out and take them out of the room at this time. And next would be Denise Persha.
There exist many powerful and wealthy lobbying groups, including the American Sexual Health Work Group, created in 2003. They're also called ASHWAG. The stated goal on their website is to create a coordinated and collaborative and integrated system of both government and non-government organizations, and to increase awareness of and understanding of many agencies that exist in California and toward the purpose of youth reproductive health. They list advocates for youth on their website. Then there is a Sexuality Information and Education Council for the United States called SIECUS. Sounds like a monster. This organization was established in 1964 by a former medical director of Planned Parenthood Federation, Dr. Mary Calderone. Calderone served as medical director of the Planned Parenthood Federation of America from 1953 to 1964, and as principal founder, executive director for PP, and after 1975, president of SIECUS until her retirement in 1982. SIECUS promotes advocates for youth on their website. There are some reports that Alfred Kinsey started SIECUS as an educational arm associated with his institute and asked Calderone to be its first director. That's actually not too far-fetched, but I can't completely confirm it. However, it looks like it might be true. Dr. Mary Calderone married her husband, and he became chief administrative officer of the World Health Organization. My. There's a couple of quotes from Mary Calderone that I think are sort of interesting, but this is not the only quote. Two quotes I'm going to say from her. She actually has many just like this. Children are sexual and think sexual thoughts and do sexual things. Parents must accept and honor their child's erotic behavior and potential. And also quoting her, professionals who study children have recently affirmed the strong sexuality of the newborn. And that brings me to Alfred Kinsey, because Calderone was quoting Kinsey's research. You might remember Kinsey as the institute that promoted child sexuality by strapping children as young as 2 years or 2 months old to a table and sexually exciting them. Those are true stories. I have the research. It's in his book. Children as young as 2 months. In 1995, the Washington Post is quoted as saying, the director of Kinsey Institute reveals that Kinsey's conclusions on sexuality of young children were based not on scientific study, but on the secret history of a single pedophile who kept diaries of experiences, and these children that were strapped to the tables were actually sexually assaulted by him and others.
I'm sorry, but your time is up.
All right, well then I'll be back for round 2 next time,
Okay.
as there's more.
All righty. That takes us to public employee appointment. Appointment of middle school vice principal for Sequoia Middle School. Dr. Meyer?
Yes, President Mason, Board of Education, it is my pleasure to welcome back the Honey family into the room. Thank you. It is my pleasure to recommend for the appointment of Vice Principal, Sequoia Middle School, Ashley Lung. Ashley comes to us with a Bachelor's of Arts from Sonoma State University in Liberal Studies. She also has a Master's of Arts from Brandman University in Educational Leadership and Administration. She holds an Administrative Services credential and an Educational Specialist credential. She has experience as the Director of Student Services at Clayton Valley Charter High School. She has been from 2015 to 2017 Education Specialist at the Bridge Program for Mount Diablo Unified. She was also a Resource Specialist and Freshman Transition Coordinator in Clayton Valley. She also has experience as an Education Specialist in Intensive SDC class at Iron Horse Middle School, as well as a substitute teacher in Mount Diablo Unified. So I would like to recommend for the position of Vice Principal, Sequoia Middle School, Ashley Lung.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Madam President, I move the approval of Ashley Young for middle school vice principal at Sequoia Middle School.
Thank you. Second. Thank you.
I'd just like to say right in there, I heard Clayton Valley Charter, and normally I say we don't like to take those employees, but I think you've seen the error of your ways. So we're happy to try to give you a second chance, I hope. This is a welcome back. No one's going to hold this against you. You have good taste now.
Congratulations, Ashley.
I just wanted to say thank you to the governing board and Dr. Nellie Meyer and Principal Honey for this opportunity to become a member of the Sequoia Middle School team. And I look forward to for many years of supporting the students, staff, and families in pursuit of academic excellence. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anyone you want to introduce, or you did already? All right. So next we have a resolution for Human Rights Day. The Mount Diablo Unified School District recognizes the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, which was signed on December 10, 1948, and wishes to commemorate this occasion by declaring December 10th Human Rights Day in the Mount Diablo Unified School District.
Madam President, I move that the board approve resolution number 1819/29, Human Rights Day, as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
And that passes 5-0-0. Thank you very much. Student representatives. You can lead us off, or whatever order you guys have planned.
Good evening, President Mason, board members, Superintendent Dr. Meyer, members of Superintendent's Council, and members of the audience. My name is Natalia Soto, and I am the student representative for College Now. On October 31st, which was Halloween last Wednesday, we had the HBCU recruitment fair at our campus, which is the Historical Black College and Universities, where some students applied and were waiting for them to be approved. We also had Dia de los Muertos event at BBC, where some students showed their Mexican culture as well as representing the 43 students that were disappeared, I believe, 2 years ago. There were college students as well. We also had a mariachi play for like an hour, which was really fun. We also had an ETS application to fill out, which is an educational talent search application, which is a program where it's open to all students, juniors and seniors in our program. And they take us to field trips to like Sonoma State, which we're planning in 2 weeks. Santa Barbara, we go to all different colleges and it's all free. They're really convincing us to join. On Friday, November 9th, we'll be going through the CSU and UC applications, as well as help with the filling out the FAFSA. We're continuing with our canned food drive, and our counselor Briscoe is helping students with a C or minus in their college classes with support on Fridays. Even if you don't have a C or minus, you're still welcome to go. They're also holding workshops for stress since finals are coming up. We also have a parent advisory meeting on December 9th for stress management among adolescents, which is us. Support parents, guardians with strategies to support students as they prepare for their high school and college finals.
Thank you. Okay, our next report.
Good evening, President Mason, board members, Superintendent Dr. Meyer, members, Superintendent's Council, and members of the audience. My name is Megan Chachwong, and I am the ASB president of Mount Diablo High School. During the past few weeks, Mount Diablo students have been showing their school spirit through our Spirit Weeks. These include Red Ribbon Week and Halloween Spirit Week. For Red Ribbon Week, students were encouraged to participate and spread awareness against drugs and violence as we spread kindness throughout the school and community. We did this throughout Spirit Days such as Blackout Drugs Day and activities such as Compliments in the Quad. After Red Ribbon Week was our Halloween Spirit Week. We had Spirit Days such as Wacky Tacky Tuesday and Dia de los Muertos Day to celebrate and support the long-standing tradition by the Latino community at Mount Diablo High School. On that day, students were encouraged to leave a picture of a loved one who had passed away as an act of kindness and remembrance at the altar that the leadership class made in the cafeteria. In the third news, soon we'll also be beginning our school-wide food drive, and right now seniors are doing their senior portraits, which is exciting because now we're finally realizing we're seniors. Something we also wanted to mention is that one of our teachers from the International Hospitality and Tourism Academy is starting her own TV show. Cindy is well known around her school, and I'm pretty sure the district, for promoting healthy living through her pathway by teaching her students how to cook and make their own meals with zero sugar. We just wanted to mention that we're very proud of her and her efforts to encourage healthy living in our community. All in all, the leadership class has been very busy and focused on encouraging school spirit and more engagement in school for a better and healthier community in Mount Diablo.
Thank you.
Volunteer.
Good evening, President Mason, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Meyer, Superintendent's Council, and members of the audience. My name is Hannah Genevan, and I am the ASB president from Concord High School. So I'm going to start with sports today. Our girls water polo team made it to NCS, winning their first round against Bishop O'Dowd High School, and in the second round, they unfortunately lost to Alameda High School, but they were the top-ranked team, or the first seeded team, so we consider that a win. But they stuck it out to the end, and they did a really great job. Our cross country finished up the regular season this Saturday at their league meet at Hidden Valley Park in Martinez. The girls took first place in our league as a team, and then our very own Reina Sanziano finished with a time of 18:56 for the 3-mile race. and this is making her the top finisher for the league and the MVP. So all the varsity runners will be headed to NCS next weekend at Hayward High School. Another athlete that we wanted to talk about was John Scott Sens, who's been making a name for himself in golf. Although boys golf is not in high school season right now, he's been featured in Cal High Sports and ABC 7 News. He was born with cerebral palsy, which affects muscle control of his left side, but he's defying the odds and proves to be competition everywhere he competes. Most recently, on October 31st, he competed against the pros in the Shriners Hospital PGA Pro AM tournament. There's a lot of words. In Las Vegas, and we're so excited to see what he's going to do next, especially for spring season, which is his senior season. For football, we had our Pink Out game for breast cancer awareness and their senior night, Friday the 26th. And we finished strong against Mount. We had a score of 38-8, which is much different than what our normal scores are. But we had a bit of a rough season, but the team, especially the seniors, managed to stay positive and finish strong. For the rest of our winter tryouts were last week, and the teams are putting together their lineup, their tryouts, all that stuff, and they're finishing up this week. So they're just going to be starting soon. As far as school events go, we had our dodgeball tournament finished up. We had the top team play the Marines. I think I remember saying that. Well, the Marines lost, so it's kind of it's good for our football team who made their own dodgeball team, but I don't know about the Marines. Anyway.
Not as tough as they used to be.
I don't know. We had some students play on the team with them, so I don't know, maybe that was it. But we had our wish lists for our happiness campaign passed out last Monday, and we collected everyone's holiday wish for the season. The committee's working hard to go through all of them since we want to try to reach as many people as possible within our budget this year. And then the wishes will be granted during December 3rd to the 18th, so you guys can look out for stuff on Twitter for that. Fall Fest is an opportunity we give our clubs and classes and sports actually to raise money for their programs. They're able to sell food in the quad, so we have people selling Jamba Juice, stickers, In-N-Out, boba, and much, much more. And they get to use all the funds that they raise to go towards their organization so they can do activities. Lastly, this weekend at the Lodi Band Review, our music program brought home first place in band for their division. Jazz band brought home third place for their division, and our drum major, Kenyon Kremen, won first place overall. And this is a pretty big band review, so we consider that very, very cool. That's all for today. Thank you, and go Minutemen.
Good evening, President Mason, board members, Superintendent Dr. Meyer, members of Superintendent's Council, and members of the audience. My name is Claire McGinnis, and I'm ASB President of Northgate High School. Planning is well underway and in progress for our Wellness Week, which is this week, and will feature our guest speaker, Houston Kraft. I highly encourage if you guys can come down. He's fantastic. He's absolutely amazing. In addition, our wellness team has planned various events and stations and activities to be on Friday, because we have a short schedule to accommodate for all these activities, which will include like yoga, self-defense, art and ARF with the rescue program with all the animals coming as well. In addition, we have spirit days to go alongside with this kindness week, happiness week we're starting. So today was Shine Bright, which is wear like bright and happy colors. Tomorrow's red, white, and blue for election day. Wednesday will be happy, so happiest place on earth, which will be Disney Day. And then Thursday will be our comfortable day, so be comfortable in your own skin, which will be pajama day. Who doesn't want a pajama day? And then with finals quickly approaching, it is sure to be effective and help teach these high school kids like how to relieve their stress in a positive way. And then we are currently working on a Parents' Night Out, which will be December 14th with Walnut Acres Student Council. We're working with Ms. Metler and getting their feedback for support, advice, and ideas for how we can reach out to the community and what will be fun for the kids. And this event will be more as a way for parents to go out on a date night for once in a while or go holiday shopping for them. And then the price for each child will be $20 a child, and then that'll include dinner and drinks, and then any other things they want like popcorn or snacks for the movie will be sold by the student council. And then on Friday, November 30th, the freshmen will be hosting their first ever event, and we call it a winter movie night, and it's more of a way for them to know like the ropes of like how to go through a proposal and how to get all like the forms in, and just teaching them the way so they can come up with more ideas later in the season, like a life-size game night we had last year. And in addition, the entrance fee will be $3, and then baked goods and other condiments will be sold for $2, and then tables and chairs will be provided. And then Northgate is kickstarting our first ever Winter Wishes, kind of like Concord, but inspired by Houston Craft, and leadership will be granting and giving wishes to the students that we find appropriate. And then we are also in the middle of planning our coffee talk. It's an annual event where we get the teachers and Northgate leadership together for a lunch, and we provide the breakfast and like all the drinks and Starbucks. And we get their feedback on what they think leadership can be doing to reach out for the students and like just creating that bond with the teachers that is so effective and so important. And then in other student news, for better or for worse, Mock Congress is right around the corner. And government students met in their committees today to review their bills that will be approved for Mock Congress. Fingers crossed mine goes through. And this will be December 6th and December 7th. And then in tradition, it's where government students create a simulation of how a bill becomes a law in the Senate. And then fall sports are wrapping up and winter sports are picking up. Tryouts are last week, and I have a really good feeling about this year. Good luck to our soccer team, and maybe our basketball team win. And then congratulations to Zofia Zapranov and Khalid Lee, who advanced to NCS finals on November 12th for duels. And then we encourage you to come and see women's water polo play their second rounds Wednesday at Camp Lindo at 5 p.m. versus Alameda. We're very proud of them. And then in addition, women's volleyball will be playing tomorrow at Chico for their state finals, I believe. And then in other news, I'd like to say a quick congratulations to our sports medicine teacher, Glenn Barker, who won the Teacher of the Year award. And just speaking a little towards him, he is truly an inspiration for all of the students. I've never seen someone a teacher so passionate about their kids. Like, he has taught these kids such amazing things. I never knew I'd know the origin and insertion of action of every single muscle in the body, and how he works with the students to give them avenues to explore medicine and science in new ways and ways people didn't think possible. And thank you.
Before you leave, can I, you mentioned your student speaker this week, but I didn't catch what day.
Student speaker, it's going to be...
Or the...
Wellness Day
speaker. One, yes.
Houston Craft, and it will be on Friday.
It will be on Friday. Thank you.
Any other reports? Is that it? Okay. Thank you to our students for that. Okay, we are now at board member reports. This will be our opportunity to embarrass Trustee Hansen. So, do you want to start? Or do you want to? Well, you can tell. You can say whatever you want. I thought it'd be a good time to show the best of us.
So I'm going to be brief on my normal report. Let's see. So on October 24th, I attended along with Ms. Mayo it's called a parent coffee, hosted by the 32nd PTA. I paid for the coffee and the goodies in partnership with the County Office of Ed for Sandy Hook Promise. I'm sure most people in the room have heard of Sandy Hook Promise. The county office has entered into an agreement with the Sandy Hook Promise organization to work with them around gun violence prevention. And so this was an opportunity for some of us to just hear a short presentation by Nicole Hockley, I've seen her on TV. A lot of you may have as well. She's the mother of Dylan, who was one of the victims at Sandy Hook. And she's one of the founding members of Sandy Hook. And what was really interesting to me was her talking about the history of the organization and what they started with. They tried to get national legislation passed that would have more requirements on background checks, and they were not successful, which was kind of a stunning outcome for them. And so they had to regroup, and she talked about that they realized, if you think about some things that are in place now, it's kind of common practice, common knowledge that have to do support health and safety, etc. that maybe weren't in place 30 or more years ago. They were successful because, those efforts were successful because they started at a young age, started educating people, especially children. So seatbelts, I drove across the United States in the back of a station wagon playing with my younger brothers. We didn't have seatbelts. So now you wouldn't think twice about not having seatbelts or putting them on. The whole MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, has been very effective because they're teaching children about the risk of drinking and driving. So those kinds of, they regroup. So their model now is to work with school districts to help educate children around bullying. What can you do if you're a victim or if you see it happening to someone else? To speak up to adults if they see something they're concerned with. For everyone to be much more proactive. So it was really, I thought really interesting. And then our staff had the opportunity, I think, to spend the day drilling down a little deeper on all of that. The other thing that was interesting to me is that apparently Assemblymember Tony Thurmond was the one that called the county office of ed and sort of offered this idea to them and suggested that they embark on this endeavor. So October 25th, I attended the Lights On 2018 from Mount W Unified Cares after school program. I had a wonderful tour by these two after school program students, Giselle and Sophia. And all of this is on my Mount W, Joanne Durkee Mount W Unified School District board. So I took pictures, and if you want to see more, you can go there and look. It was held at Holbrook Language Academy last Thursday, and there's so many great activities for these students, including STEM, art, Project Lead the Way, robotics, basketball, sparks, and yoga, math, garden, and cooking. So again, I put a lot of pictures, and I just want to thank the staff. It's a chance to showcase all the after-school programs that are going on in our district, so it's really great. On the 30th, several of us were at the International Hospitality and Tourism County. Cindy Gershon invited us to meet with Dr. Lustig, who is a UCSF professor of pediatrics, who was there to talk to the students actually about health and nutrition and healthy living and healthy eating. So we had a chance to have a smaller conversation with him, which was really interesting. He talked about sugar as kind of the main culprit. And in his work, as a pediatrician, seeing children kind of almost presenting as if they were alcoholics because of the sugar content. And so he's done a lot of research, and it was very, very interesting. So, and then we got to eat this wonderful lunch that Cindy would call from farm to taste, right? From taste or garden to taste. So making, what you get out of the garden very, kind of retrain our palates to really like the healthy food. So that evening, I went to an event at JFK, it was at JFK University. It was hosted by the Hispanic Chamber's Education Symposium. And that's all I'll say about that. That was interesting. And then I wanted to mention that on October 26th, there's because I live in Pleasant Hill, I get the Pleasant Hill Martinez Record. There was quite a large article that was called The County Launches of Jobs Program. It's the Contra Costa Workforce Collaborative. Really great article on, some of you might know about the East Bay Works, used to be called East Bay Works, and it was the one-stop career centers. I was involved when those got launched many years ago. And they've been run by the county for a number of years. They're now called America Job Centers. And the county had to give up being direct manager because of funding problems. And so my fear was that a private for-profit organization, which is happening across the country, would come in and win the bid to now do this. And we have so many agencies in our county that do this kind of work, that are publicly funded, and really do really quality work. So I'm very proud to say, and I want to point out was not mentioned in here, they talk about the structure that they ended up with, which is a huge collaborative of many agencies, including adult schools, community colleges, nonprofits, the lead agencies and organizations, a great reputation called Rubicon. And so that means the services are now spread out more across the county for any adult who is looking for a job or needs training or whatever. It's really like a one-stop shop you can go to. But what isn't mentioned is the fact that our adult ed director, Victoria Abate, has happened because of her efforts. she was the one that thought that this is the way it needed to be, because otherwise all these, and she's sort of been competing with each other, and so she convened all the agencies that were interested in this work, and it wasn't an easy conversation, but after several months of crafting this together and people realizing the value of working collaboratively, they were actually, that group was a successful bidder and got the contract to do this work. So I just kind of wanted to call it this. So the topic of the evening is Cheryl Hansen. It was a lovely, I want to thank everybody. I thought it was a great reception. It was really great themes, right? So I, got a chance to write this out personally for Cheryl, but I was an employee at Mount Dudley Unified for 37 years. And so I was during that era where, as an employee, after having worked here for so long, and then these are towards the end of my career here, really being very disheartened by what was going on with the leadership and the whole culture of the organization. It was really sad to me to see that what was happening. And I was in board, sitting out there like you all, watching, going to board meetings, seeing what was going on. And all of a sudden this lady appears, and I say this all the time, I thought she was totally nuts at first, because she got herself on the board and she was taking bullets left and right. I watched it. And she was on a mission, you could tell. And there's always a little bit like this, who would do this, right? Who would put themselves in this position? But she hung in there, and just to fast forward, in my view, totally changed the culture of the organization, changed the leadership, got us Dr. Nellie Meyer as our new leader. And again, all that happened while I was an employee, that part. And so I think I had an opportunity to work with Nellie like 1 year or 2 years, I lose track. So that to me, I will always be indebted to her for that, because I saw it on both sides. Seeing it as an employee and what was going on, and the need for change. And so it took someone like that being brave enough to step up, take the heat, and methodically make enough change so that we could be where we are today. So, but she didn't stop there. So I was like, once I was retired, 2015, I think she would talk about it kind of kiddingly, and I would laugh and kid back, but we didn't ever have a serious conversation. And then she invited me out for coffee. I think 4 hours later, I was thinking that maybe it's not a bad idea. She was trying to convince me to run for school board. So, and so I have never regretted that decision. I'm really, really finding this to be a wonderfully gratifying, a great extension of having been an employee for 37 years. We share their passion about the work and the students. And so I'm also indebted for her for that, for encouraging me and cajoling me and pushing me and convincing me. So, and then here we are today. There's a reason this is her decision to step down from this role, because she doesn't stop. She's now seen another tremendous need in our county. And once again, just even up to this point, it's not an easy process, to be running for another elected position. You take a lot of hits, you take a lot of heat, you take a lot of all that. And again, sometimes you think, why would you do that? And it's the same reason. Fortunately, she does have kind of a steel backbone, but it's always about her commitment, her passion, and her knowledge about what's right for students in Contra Costa County or for anywhere. And so I am also very grateful for her that being willing to take that on. And we're going to miss you terribly, but we're going to be rooting on. We know this is not the end. She's not retiring. So thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Trustee Lawrence?
So I have flashbacks to my first board meeting this evening, which was 6 years ago, and we had people coming up and saying that there had been Brown Act violations, and I had been informed 2 minutes before I came out to the public meeting that our then chief budget officer had had his laptop stolen, which was not encrypted and had 18,000 social security numbers of Mount Diablo employees on it, as well as, for unknown reason, 5,000 Berkeley employees. And I remember going into closed session and just saying, what have I gotten myself into? And I just want to say a thank you to Cheryl, because one of the things that, as I got in here, I quickly learned that more and more I just felt this was a district that was fundamentally not going in the right direction and needed drastic and radical change. And we moved forward with a very difficult decision to release our then superintendent and kind of plunge into this journey to find a new superintendent, which turned out pretty well. But at the time we had no idea what was going to happen. And I really respected Cheryl's vision and determination to help us move forward, and something I've been proud to be a part of. And she and I have not always agreed on things, but we've laughed and I think had a lot of fun as we've gone through some really weighty issues and had some tough things that we've had to handle and move through. And so I have a great deal of respect for her public service and what she's done, and I think she can absolutely be incredibly proud looking at how this district has transformed during her 8 years and knowing the part that she played in that. And so I thank her for her service and wish her the best of luck in her next step in her journey. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Trustee Mayo?
Thank you. First, I want to share my heartfelt thanks to Cheryl Henson for her service to our students, their families, and our district employees. I encouraged Ms. Henson to run for office in the summer of 2010, and I was the first to inform her brother that she had filed, and he was most surprised sitting in that back row in that hidden seat back there. And I campaigned for her re-election in 2014. Ms. Henson, your passion, dedication, and intelligence is evident in your work that you have accomplished this last 8 years. I wish you the best in your next public service adventure. So I do have a couple of items to report on. The October 23rd was the college fair at Ignacio Valley High School, and I want to give a shout out to the campus and staff and volunteers at Ignacio Valley High School for the great event that they host for the entire school district. And we had students even coming from Pleasanton. I checked some kids in from Pleasanton at the event. The college representatives were positive about the reception they received at Ignacio Valley High School and by the conversations that they had with our students and their parents. And parents were having a lot of fun visiting and dreaming about what they might like to do over as far as what college they would like to attend. So it was fun to have those conversations as the families left the gym after they had toured through all the table. And so it was a great event, and I loved being there. On October 24th, of course, we had the Sandy Hook Promise breakfast with Nicole Hockley. The 32nd District PTA is a co-sponsor with the County Office of Education, and the PTA will be working with its units throughout Contra Costa County to promote the program. It's sobering and critical work to break down the barriers of isolation and build welcoming schools and societies and prevent bullying. And the goal was to start this work at the middle school level. And I do believe that that is the right place to start. And successful change, like Mr. Key had said, always has begun with youth. And so we hold that, we look to that promise with our youth. And Sandy Hook Promise provides this hope of change through researched practices and research curriculum. So I'm excited that we are involved in it and that our county is looking at it county-wide. My final thing that I wanted to bring up is we have the election of the board president at the next meeting, and there is the traditional nomination process that this board has followed. But I would also like to throw out another option that we might choose at the next meeting, whereby the chair would ask each of us who is interested in serving as the chair for the 2019 year. Then each board member would vote their choice on a paper ballot without the nomination process. This would not be a secret ballot because the superintendent would read each board member's name that's written on the outside of the ballot and followed by the choice of that board member. The results are tallied and the trustee with the most votes would be the chair. The process would be repeated for vice chair. I look forward to the determination of the process at the December meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, we would just have to check for clarification as far as Brown Act and writing by ballot. I don't know. I'll check. Yeah, and our bylaws. Okay. I'm going to go because we're going to save best for last.
Good night.
Thank you, students.
Thank you.
I worked for the district actually for 22 years, and then I coordinated with the district for 16 years and thought I was done with the district. And then I heard about the meetings going on about the charter school, and I was piqued my interest, so I decided to come to a meeting which was being held next door in the multi-use room because there was a gazillion people there. And I watched Miss Hanson up there, in my opinion, taking a beating from her fellow board members and members of the public, but not giving in, not getting flustered, just being professional and keep driving her point home. And I don't know if she remembers or not, but I actually stopped her on the way in or out of the meeting and said, you know, you don't know me from Adam, but I just have to say I have so much respect for you that they're beating you up and you're just doing what you believe is the right thing to do. I think that's what all of our leaders should do. So then I went home and told my husband, you won't believe this, but I think I'm going to run for school board again. I'd done it in the 90s and wasn't successful. And he goes, what happened? So I told him, there's this woman there that just, I feel like she needs somebody to support her, and I want to be that somebody. And so I ran, and I did not make it that time. And things started turning, and I thought about not running, but Cheryl kept telling me, no, we need people like you. You need to run again. And I ran again, and even though the local paper said everybody in Bay Point could vote for me and I'd never get elected, I still ran, and lo and behold, I got elected. And when I was trying to find something to give Cheryl, some little thing, I was looking for Dr. Pepper items, because we all know her love of Dr. Pepper, something I'm willing to forgive her for because I try to encourage people not to drink soda. But I found it ironic that Dr. Pepper things are very, very hard to find, hard to come by. And I think it's appropriate because people like Cheryl are very, very hard to find and hard to come by, that will stick by their beliefs, stick to what they believe in. And actually, one of Dr. Pepper's motto is one of a kind. And I think you've chosen the perfect beverage for yourself. And I think I'll turn it over to Nellie in case she has any comments, and then we'll finish with you, Cheryl. And I will say she's been a wonderful mentor to me, and it's been a pleasure to serve with her, and I will miss her. But I covered my bases by giving her a Starbucks card so she can take me out to tea now and then.
Well, I wasn't sure when we were going to do this, so I have a thank you in my presentation, but we wanted to present you, Cheryl, an appreciation of dedicated service from 2010 to 2018 to the Board of Education, students, staff, and community of Mount Diablo Unified School District. So we would like to give you this honor.
And now you're on, Miss Hanson.
For those of you who don't know, I am not dying. I feel like we might be doing a memorial here. but I am leaving the board. This is my final term, and I chose to do that. So I wanted to start out by saying that originally it was called a retirement. I said, no, serving on a board is not a career. Serving on a board is a community service. And I have tried to recruit and encourage others to run. And I still tried this year and couldn't get people to run. But it was not anything that I set out to say, well, this is a career. People who think being on a board is a full-time career are crazy. It's something, quite frankly, I believe in term limits. I think we should come in and depart gracefully and not stay and stay and stay, because this is not what this is about. It's about serving when the time is right, stepping aside, finding others to help lead, and sharing that joy of service. And that's what this was about. So 8 years ago, I was an administrator at the County Office of Education, training administrators for their Tier 2 credentials. And administrators from Mount Diablo Unified came in, and I trained over 1,700 administrators, and a lot of them were from Mount Diablo, coming in and telling me stories in 2010 of how afraid they were to work in this district and how many malicious things were happening to them from the top down. And I kept hearing the stories for several months and thought, I can either listen to these stories and say, what a shame. I started out as a teacher in this district and an administrator. And I thought, what a shame the district's going down the toilet. And it's a fearful culture. It's not leadership. It's not productive. And I decided, heck, I could run for school board and maybe have a vote and try to change it. So that's what I did, and I raced down and filed and won and set about trying to change the culture of Mount Diablo Unified, and it has to be that you cut off the head of the beast. And so I ran for school board 8 years ago to fire a superintendent, and it took me 2 years, and then I told Mr. Lawrence, he came along, thank you, and gave me my third vote. And there were only 3 of us, and I got the superintendent. And that took 2 years, and that's the culture change. But I want to reinforce, I ran 4 years ago to keep a superintendent, because we have 1 in a million with Nellie Meyer. And so I know how to be smart about it. When it's a bad one, you go after it. When it's a good one, you support her with everything you have. So I didn't intend to serve 2 terms. I was going to do 1, knock the kind of the dynamite, blow it up and rebuild it a little bit. But Nellie was so good and such a find that I said I have to run to support her. And so my advice to any board is, when you get a 1 in a million superintendent, you get out of her way. You support her, you encourage her, and you get out of her way. Do not meddle and micromanage, and let her use her good judgment, or you will lose her. And my view, I've always said this to Nellie, she needs to stay as long as she's happy. And I hope the next board respects that and understands what she has brought to Mount Diablo. So I say I came in to be sort of the dynamite, to really plug away, to put a spotlight on the bad culture that was here. And 2 years into this, after Mr. Lawrence gave me my third vote and we got him, somebody stopped me in the hall, an employee, and I have 3 moments over 8 years where it's time to move on. And the employee said 2 years into my time here, thank you, the fear is gone. And I still choke up when I think about it, and I can see that moment, because it meant we took step 1 and the superintendent was gone, and we were in transition, and people were afraid. They're saying, what if we don't get anyone? What if it's worse? I said, it won't be, because we're going to seriously go out and look. And Nellie came to us from San Diego, and we hired a search team. And this time, unlike in the past in this district, we actually followed the procedure, and the search team went out and went to San Diego. Otherwise, we never would have found Nellie. And she was brave enough to take a chance. We went down there and snatched her out of San Diego. They had no clue that people were saying, why are you taking her? I said, because she's very, very good. And she is one who is meant to be a superintendent. A lot of people go 3 or 4 or 6 steps too high in their careers. And you think, what the heck are you doing up there? Nellie is one who is meant to be a superintendent. She just handles it with such incredible grace and intelligence and competence. So she's what matters, not the board. The board should just really be the backdrop to help this functional district keep moving forward. So when somebody said, thank you, the fear is gone, that was wonderful. But there were a lot of unfinished things in this district that had fallen by the wayside. And starting with, when I got here, graduation credits. We were the lowest, we expected the least from our kids of all the districts in the county. They had depleted graduation credits for our students. So one of the first things, and I got blocked for 2 years on the board, trying to raise graduation credits so that we expected more of our students. For 2 years, they wouldn't even agendize it. I spent 2 years without items getting on the agenda. It was ridiculous. And now we have graduation credits back up, and we're expecting more of our students. I brought up things like joint city council meetings and got blocked for 2 years. Nobody wanted to meet with our city councils. We now have been meeting with our city councils for about 5 years, and they appreciate it. There's a relationship now. I brought up things like early college. Could we get juniors and seniors into DVC? And I got blocked for 2 years. And Nellie came along, and I actually was able to collaborate with a couple of community college board members, and we now have College Now, our students going to college and getting college credits. We hadn't had counselors in Mount Iowa Unified for over 20-something years. We now have at least 60 counselors brought back, which had been gone for a couple of decades. The district had stupidly stripped the funding for athletics. We put that back in, and a lot of this is, I point to Nellie because she is truly the one that makes it happen. You can have a vision, you can have ideas, which I have, but Nellie has been the one that really helps make it happen, and she has that good judgment, good sense. So to me, it's really more about you than me, because I'm simply know when it's time to move on. So I had a lot of ideas, a lot of things I wanted to accomplish, but the biggest one was to change this culture in this district. So it started when somebody said the fear is gone, and it helped that we found Jen Sachs' father, who was had been a two or three or four times superintendent, and he helped us transition to make this happen. But we began now adding back programs, creating things, and I said to people, said, how do you afford this? I said, because now we are actually prioritizing education. We don't have any more money, we just have better priorities. And so all of this has happened, this restoration of services, raising graduation credits, adding in additional programs, happens because now the district values education for students, and it's not about power and control anymore. It's about really what's in the best interest for our students, and I don't take that lightly. Teachers had spent probably 20 years without benefits shared by the district. They were getting a compensation for it, and we were losing bleeding teachers when I got on the board 8 years ago, and they were all just bailing out of Mount Diablo because over the hill or elsewhere they were paying salary and benefits that were far better, and the board wouldn't even discuss it. The superintendent wouldn't even discuss it, and that's short-sighted. We now went from the bottom 3 in salary and benefits for teachers to the top 3 in Contra Costa County. And again, it's thanks to Nellie, who got here and understood that rewarding people, valuing people matters, and that's how you build a team. So we've raised salary and benefits. So my second moment was when a teacher said to me, I was out at Northgate one day, and he stopped me and he said, thank you, for the first time my wife can stay at home with our 2 young children because my salary finally hit a place where we can afford to pay our mortgage and have my wife be a full-time mom. Well, that was another one of those moments when we accomplished salary and benefits. But the final one came when I ran into a teacher I've known for a couple of decades, very cranky teacher, always complaining. And she said to me, Cheryl, I love my district. And I said, that's it, I'm done. Because that was the moment I waited for, when a really cranky teacher said, I love my district. So I checked with her last week and said, do you still love your district? And she said, absolutely. I said, then I'm officially done. So I am choosing to end my service. This isn't about retirement. I have a whole life in education that I continue with. But this is has been a good service, and I'm very proud to have been the dynamite that blew up the system. And I thank Deborah Mason and Joanne Durkee, who were gracious enough to actually jump in here and help. I also appreciated one of our other board members, Barbara Oakes, who was principal at College Park High, who came along, and I didn't even know she was going to run. And when she turned up, it was just a wonderful moment when we had a real educator join us as well. So there were some, good moments in there of people who are truly dedicated to education, who came in and helped shine a light on things. So it's been an honor to serve, but I know when to move on. Don't ever think this is a career. Anybody who does has overstayed his or her welcome. It should be a service, and anybody out here who doesn't work for Mount Dalby Unified, all you have to be is 18 and live in the district to run for school board. And it's a great service, and you'll have a great time here with our superintendent. So thank you. This is my last board meeting. I'm very, very happy that it's my last board meeting, because 8 years is a long time for me to focus on one thing. So it's been a pleasure. And thank you, Nellie, for surviving and staying. And I hope that you go on. And if this board coming up gets dumb again, I'll be up at the microphone saying, how dare you ruin it again, because things can get undone quickly. But we're in a good spot, and a lot of it's because we have good leadership. So please respect and value her. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Meyer, you're on.
The bar was set a little high, so I'm a little worried about my presentation. Thank you, Cheryl. To start out, we talked about lights out, and these were my two tour guides right there in the cornfield, and children. Yes, it was a couple of photos. They were tired. It was a long day. But to start out, wanted to share there have been a lot of wonderful things that have been going on in the last 2 weeks since our last board meeting. As we continue to talk about our focus and our achievement goals and how we're very interested in making sure all of our students succeed post-secondary, and that it really is a moral imperative to make sure that happens, that we have both career pathways and college pathways and multiple places to come in to get on those pathways. So this is a picture of a young lady who has been engaged in our chalk art through the foundation, and it really makes you kind of want to get out there and get in the chalk. They are immersed, that is for certain. So great picture there. A lot of the things I'm going to show you were mentioned, and this was our college and career fair at Ignacio Valley High. And we have our DLAC president and his wife and his son there on the left. We also have the long line that we had to get in. There were students from everywhere. It was a wonderful event. Thanks to the team of parent volunteers, community volunteers. Alana Samuels has been doing this for 6 years and has done a great job. And it's kind of hard to see because of the lack of a flash, but you can also see the check-in happening. We had news media there just to report on it, and very well attended. More pictures of it. You can see the inside. Rows of not only colleges and community colleges, but also trades and different organizations that train students for careers. We had in the middle our ambassadors from YV High, and they walked students and parents around. And then on the right, we have Peter Alter, who is the Dean of St. Mary's, who is part of our program partnership with special education interns at St. Mary's, and his wife, who is a special education teacher here, who he managed to get to man the booth with him all night. Going forward as well, Sandy Hook Promise, Nicole Hockley was very inspiring. She lost her son, Dylan, at the age of 6 at Sandy Hook, and she spoke to us in the morning here on the right, but also to our team. We had Samantha Allen, Felicia Stecky Smith, myself, and they asked us to then look to a broader team as we go forward. So we have shared with the principals, and they're very excited about the possibilities. In the middle, there was a mock assembly, and he showed what the assemblies are like for students, and so he did a great job of presenting and sharing ideas about how important it is to reach out to others and say hello or just make sure they're noticed. Lights on, as we spoke about. There's my little tour guides right there under the light bulb. They were wonderful. Jeremy and Marga Marshall, and they did a lot of great work, and Lights On was going on around the district, not just there. But we did have the tours there. In the upper right hand, we had a STEM room. They were working on science projects. And then in the bottom, I think we had Wren versus Sun Terrace. I think every time I go see this program, it's Wren versus Sun Terrace. There's some kind of grudge match, maybe. But they really had fun. They have an actual ref. They had a great time. And then we also, as was mentioned in our Concord report, I want to make sure I get this right. John Scott Sens from Concord High. There's a picture of him, and he has been representing Special Olympics as well as Concord High. And as mentioned, he was in Las Vegas at the, and I'm reading it too, Shriners Pro DM. Not a golfer, but appreciate how hard it is. And so he has really done a good job of representing us, just around different states. And so we will see good things coming, more good things from him. As was mentioned, senior night, I just got a couple of pictures of senior night. I love senior night. It's kind of a sweet moment where you get to recognize the parents and the students. And YV decided to, I hope this was after the game, I doubt it was, they did the color chalk all over each other, and they had a good senior night. And then you can see here Northgate on the right, our senior cheerleaders who were being recognized that evening, and a lot of other things around town. Concord High, I wanted to share this because it does relate to college and career, that we've been working on the pathway with their auto shop, and we have a lot of engineering going on in the district, and so people always come and say, well, what about auto? And so we do have the auto shop at Concord High, and they were just recognized as an official pathway with the courses that they need. And so you can see them on the left here checking the tires. If I only knew a couple of years ago, but they are there for us, typically not for staff, but they've been working hard. They design their own cars. They really get a lot of experience, so they can go out and get a job that can support a family right out of high school with that certificate. Also wanted to share that the Warriors, you may have heard of them. They're a basketball team that plays around town, and they like to invite our musicians to their game. And so here on the left we have a picture of Bruce Rockwell, who is the choir teacher, and Seth Curry. And then we also have a leader from the choir, and then we have other people who got in the picture, and we're chaperoning. I was not asked to chaperone. I would have chaperoned. I will have to let them know for next time. In the top right picture, there you see they're getting ready. They haven't gone in yet, and they're at Oracle Center. And then in the bottom photo, it's right before the game starts. They were the opening, so everyone was in the arena. And we have a quick video so you can experience it. Mika, were you there? No? I know you're the mother of a musician. Okay. Imagine you're at Oracle. The Wizards were there. Roracle.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we ask you now to please rise if you're able and remove your hats as we honor America. Please join us in the singing of our national anthem as performed for you tonight by College Park High School.
There was our chaperone. Okay, I'm glad to see they were chaperones. I was worried until a minute 28. Okay. All right. We see who got our seat. Okay. Want me to go first? I can click on. Okay. So, after all the serious and exciting moments tonight, there was a lot of fun that was happening here at Dent during Halloween. So I wanted to share. You can see the human resource witches on the left, and this entire slide shows you they had all sorts of wonderful details. They all really embraced the image of human resources as witches, which was a big stretch, right? And then they also did a great job decorating. They all left their brooms at the door when they came in on that particular day. So very clever and creative. And then the goddesses of student services. So we had student services and special education. We had Poseidon, and I think Poseidon was surrounded by mostly goddesses. And they also, you can see in the upper right, had decorated with edible decorations, and they really embraced the role of goddesses. And thank you to Deborah Mason and Rose Ramos who helped me judge. It was very, very difficult. They had all of the maps of ancient Greece and really got into the role. Then we had construction, junction, and so we had our instructional department who were making sure that they had taken care of all of the construction needs and a lot of wonderful decorations. We had the painters, we had the table saws, we had the caution, we had the wet floors and the tape, and then over here this person was hit by science over there, and so really a fun time and a lot of great camaraderie was seen with that department's great decorations. I don't think the pictures even do them justice. And then we had in the upper left-hand corner, we had Friends, and that was our legal benefits department. And then at the bottom here, they had their friends' faces and their cups from Central Perk. They didn't know the difference between Monica and Rachel. We had to correct them. So I think there's some kind of
thing there, but they had really done a great job, and they danced to the song. They had a great routine. In the upper right hand, we had technology, and our person who was hardest to guess who he was on the left there is Joe Estrada, and yes, and so really fun decorations. Then in the middle here, we had our robotics at work, and that robotics followed us around the room, and so that was that won individual award for scariest. And then the bottom right, we had the group we called They're Still Working Hard, and they just had time to put on ears, and that was it. No, they did a great job, and you can see they actually stayed in character. Janet was saying she heard a buzz in her ear when she was the bee, and you can see here, this is a photo before I went in. By the time I got there, they were over their numbers, and they looked up and went, go away. So they did it. You can see here they had a fun time as well. At Crossroads, our littlest here, our moms and our students, our mom students and our young babies who were there, they had a trick-or-treat walk, and so they went up and down, and they they got their candy, and then I think we took it away because of our sugar policy. But they did get the idea, and they just had a great time. As was mentioned in one of the speakers, we had quite a few Dia de los Muertos events. We had in the morning, we had different photos. This, I believe, is Sequoia Middle School, and the altars that they put together were beautiful. I also went to Bancroft, and they had all of their fourth grade teachers together who had collaborated on the altars and the different memories of their loved ones, and you can see just the great work they did on their altars. I was fortunate to have these two tour guides that are kind of up here in the left of center, on the upper left, and then also this class that they're all now my height. They informed me that in my first visit, when I came 5 years ago, they were the kindergarten class that I read to. So they all sang, and it was just amazing. So that was Read Across America Day, but now they are in fourth grade, headed on to fifth. More thank yous. I was going to give you the plaque but just wanted to thank you, Cheryl, for your work on behalf of students of Mount Diablo. It's very much appreciated.
I just put in one more plug there. That bottom right picture was a moment, and I should be shot if I forget that. When I got on the board, the crazy board was in the middle of deciding to close schools for no reason whatsoever. And they voted to close Holbrook and Glenbrook very stupidly, and I voted against it, and it took years of plugging away, and when Nellie got here, Holbrook and Glenbrook were already closed, and I said, I'm never giving up. And we did manage to get Holbrook reopened, and it's incredible today, and it's one of the things I'm so proud of and so appreciative. That was another thing that Nellie came along, was able to prioritize and get it, that reopening an elementary almost never happens in a district. When you close a school, it's sometimes just over, but she got it and helped make it happen. So that was an amazing accomplishment, that one.
It was a fun day with big scissors, which I love, big scissors, and big checks. Those are two of my favorite things. But you can see here, that was a wonderful day. And then up here on the right, Mount Diablo Elementary. And then I think in the bottom left is also Holbrook. Lastly, when you look at the faces of our students and our staff, you can really see how well they're doing. So I love that picture of that young lady on the right. And then here you have Liz Lemfreaky Law at Halloween, and throughout the district, our schools really embraced not only the cultural aspects of the season, but the fun. So that was just wonderful to see. So thank you very much.
Okay, and I just saw 2 cards sitting up here, which I think might have been for public comment. and they didn't reach me before public comment, so we're going to take them right now. Esperanza Flores, thank you for your patience.
It's my first time. Thank you for understanding me. Thank you for your help.
Good evening. My name is Esperanza Flores, and I'm here to say thank you for support the program. Like Mrs. Henson support, like community license or enlaces con la comunidad is really helpful for me. I think Mrs. Isabel Lara support me and speak in Spanish. And before you go, I want to let you know thank you, because it really impact the community and it's really helpful to have the option to support my students in many ways. And I think it's very care about community, and I say thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I hope so you will see the impact that you do in the community. I have simple words to say. We chosen the program, and thank you. We really appreciate. We are thankful. We have hope, and we have gratitude for you and for the district too. Thank you for support the program. And also I have Rosa is here. She's really thankful too. And I have 3 letters from my other partners from the community. She wanna say thank you. I wanna give it to you or to you because we really need programs like this to understand. And actually, if we have the knowledge and the right time, like Mrs. Lara, she really care and understand and take time for listening and solve the problem. I have 3 things to say. Just she give me the right things and the right moment, and I find the right way to do and support my students. And I want to say thank you and God bless you, and thank you the district for support the program. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we also had an Enrique Sanchez. And again, my apologies, Enrique.
No problem. Good evening. My name is Enrique. I am volunteer in my school, the Daughters Delta View. I am president of the ELAC, and then is the volunteer in DLAC, parliamentary position in committee. And then is thank you. I am here because it is thank you for and recognize 2 people. The first is Isabel Lara for always support. Never say no. Always he have put solution in this situation. Always situation. So always he have good attitude, Isabel Lara. So always they told the parents, oh, who is here? Oh, Isabel Lara. So it's very important, you know, they told the parents is always, the name is Isabel Lara. And then is recognized, the another center is, oh my gosh, always help, is very good attitude, is Patti Becerra. Patti Becerra is very, very helpful in all the people, all the boss, all the community. So thank you so much for support. Dr. Meyer, really, really appreciate it. For me, it's very important this month because it's the celebrate Thanksgiving. Thank you, Jesus, for my life. Thank you for you have here Isabel Lara, and then in another building, Patti Becerra. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. So we're ready for our report. State and local assessment. Dr. Meyer?
Yes, this is my favorite report, and I have to say that I want to give a big thank you to our curriculum and instruction department and our assessment department, because this is really the time where we check in, and it's not always what we want to see, but it's important that we look at it. And we also get to celebrate some of the work that we have seen where we have had great success. So I would like to introduce Jennifer Sachs, our Executive Director of Curriculum Instruction, and also Shannon Ortland, our Director of Assessment Research and Evaluation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. So in the past, we've given a ton of information about CASP data, and really what we want to do tonight is reframe it around our LCAP indicator data and be very specific about the indicators that are embedded within the document and share information with you so we can get an understanding of kind of our pattern of success, growth, or opportunity lies. So thank you for giving us the time. Just a little bit of background for those folks that may not know is that the state has some very specific indicators that they would like school districts to work on and to report out on. They have to do with academics, college and career, chronic absenteeism, graduation rate, suspension rate, and then success and development of our English learners. What we've done is put on top of that the indicators that the federal government also want us to take a look at and report out on. There's been a healthy discussion over the last several years of what the federal government wants us to report out on. State of California, they finally met eye to eye. And so these are the ones that do cover both bases, state as well as federal requirements. Another way to take a look at the LCAP indicators that we're going to be sharing with you tonight are through the state priorities. And there are 8 state priorities that the LCFF language has identified for us. And they have added in the columns which are state indicators that address those priorities, as well as local indicators. And local indicators are ones that we report out on ourselves. The state indicators are ones that the state of California report for us. The highlighted ones, again, is just showing you very specifically that those are ones that we ourselves report out on and we keep information locally on.
Okay, so the next few slides we will review will be really reflective of the 2018 LCAP indicator data. So to start off with, we will look at the iReady first grade data. At the top we have reading, and at the bottom we have mathematics. This reflects first grade only. There's a legend at the top that will indicate what the color codes mean. The light reddish means that these students are performing 2 or more grade levels below the grade level they're in. The orange is 1 grade level below, and the green indicates that these students are on or above grade level. So in first grade reading, we see that we have a slight increase with 61.7% of our students performing on our grade at grade level. And we're also reducing our tier 3 students, which it's hard to see up there, but we're reducing it down to 2.8%. In mathematics, we see a slight increase in the number of students on or above grade level, but a 3% decrease as well with our tier 3 students. Moving forward, the next couple of slides, we're going to look at the actual CAST data by content. The first slide addresses English language arts. Overall in ELA, we have a slight increase, but most noticeably, we see a fairly significant increase in our 3rd grade students, and that is an 8% increase from 16-17 to 17-18. In math, we haven't seen much growth over the last 3 years, but again, in 3rd grade, we did see an increase of 3%. Moving forward, we're going to look at the Algebra 1 results, and there's a lot of information on this graph. So a few things to keep in mind. First of all, the data only includes the traditional course of Algebra 1. It does not include the Algebra 1A or 1B that we offered in 16-17, nor does it include the Math 8/Algebra 1 course that was offered in 15-16. So these numbers truly reflect the Algebra 1 course. And there are 3 years of data. The percentage by year indicates the percentage of students passing with a C or better. Highlights trend data for all the student groups have increased over each year with the exception of our Asian student group. By program, again we see an increase in the number of students passing each year. I think we see our biggest increase with our special education students with a 14% increase with a C or better.
Not to be a party pooper, but you can see though that the number of students taking it has gone down.
Yes.
So could you share a little bit about that? Okay.
So as I mentioned in 15-16, we did offer a course that was combining the algebra or Common Core 8th grade math with Algebra 1.
that did service credit for Algebra 1. We did not count that in. As soon as the next year, 16-17, we offered Algebra 1A and 1B, which is traditionally a 2-course algebra course. So you see a decrease in the number of students taking the traditional course because they're taking the other course. So,
and part of it is to slow it down to make sure they get it
yes,
thoroughly so they're ready for Algebra 2.
Absolutely. And we could give you those numbers, we just didn't indicate that so we could compare apples to apples in this graph. So the next set of data we will look at is 9th grade on track. So these are the students that complete their freshman year with 55 credits. Highlights include an increase with our African American students that saw a 6% increase, and our Hispanic students increased close to 5%. So those are nice increases for both student groups. By program, we saw an increase with our English learners, an increase of 6%, an increase of 4% with our low-income students, and an approximate 10% increase with our special ed students. Moving on, we're going to look at our graduates meeting UC or CSU requirements. And overall, we see an increase of 5% overall, which is a nice increase. And an increase in all student groups with the exception of our African American students. And by program, you can see that there is no data representing our special education or our foster youth. This is not reported out by DataQuest. So for English learners and socioeconomically disadvantaged, we saw our English learners increase a little over 4%, and our low-income students increased by 6%. And this is going to be a fun slide to work through. There's a lot of definitions. So there are two different graphs. I'm going to talk to the first graph first. It's the Ever ELs, and this data was first generated by DataQuest 3 years ago. So you can see the different color codes, and I know it's really tiny up there. But the first section where you see the light pink, in all 3 years, it's about 33%. So that represents our English learners that are 0 to 3 years. And what that means, it means that there's any EL student in kindergarten through grade 12 who has been enrolled in U.S. schools for 0 to 3 years. The next data set is the at-risk 4 to 5 years, and that's the next slice of data. And those are the English learners that have been enrolled kindergarten through 12th grade that are at risk at not reclassifying because they have not met the criteria in the first 4 years to make that movement. The next slice of data is your long English, your LTELs, 6+ years, and those are the students that are basically after 6 years enrolled in our schools and not reclassified for various reasons. And the next slice of data is our EL 4+ years not at risk, and those are those students that are enrolled in our programs, but if they've met the criteria in terms of increasing their number on the CELT or now the LPAC, so they're not deemed at risk. And the last group that is represented is the group of students that are RFEP'd or reclassified during that year. Okay? So the bottom graph is a graph of just shows reclassification for those 3 years. So if we look at 2017 and 2018, the reclassification rate is 12%. That means that the percentage of students reclassified in 2017-18 is out of the number of EL students from the previous year in 2016 and 17. Okay? So with that said, I will turn it back over to Jen.
So I'd just like to highlight when it comes to any of the state indicators having to do with English learners specifically, this year because we have a new assessment called the LPAC, it's going to be more of, instead of the status and change, it's going to be more of a status indicator that we're going to look at since we'll only have 1 year of data. So that you won't be seeing as many pieces within that indicator, that graph. But good news, we have more changes. The dashboard for the state of California decided it wants to look even more like a dashboard. So what we have here are the changes that we're going to be seeing when the dashboard is released, I believe December or end of November? December 3rd. And so on it, we will have those state indicators that we just went through. And then what we'll also have are the local indicators, which are the ones that I've starred. That's not going to be on the dashboard. I just decided I wanted to make sure your eye went to that. And those are those places that, as I mentioned before, locally we have to report out, and we use a different variety of assessments in order to do so in surveys. So the first priority, which is all about basic conditions, misassignment of teachers, what about teachers of English learners, facilities, standards aligned materials, that sort of thing. How are we standing here fall of 2018? And when we're looking at these numbers, they really haven't changed from last year. Our HR department has been working very, very hard to make sure that we've got no misassignments happening, and if we do need to do something a little creative, that information comes to the board, especially when we're looking at FIPS and STIPs and that sort of thing. English learners, our teachers that are coming to us, are properly credentialed in that area. Vacancies, we still have a few, but that is under 1%. We do not have any issues with students without materials. If they don't have them in their hand, they are on the way and probably in the warehouse ready to be delivered. And that number of facilities that do not meet good. These two sites are of a fair category, and so we've been actually working quite closely with the Maintenance and Operation Department in order to increase those numbers, so when they do their facilities inspections, we can get them over that bump into the good category.
Which two currently are not?
Right now, according to the information, is Walnut Acres and Fair Oaks were two on their fit. Now the fit, I do have to say, the data that we're getting up for the facilities is a year old because it's based on the SARC, the School Accountability Report Cards. That's always a year behind. Based on what I understand this point of this year, I believe for fall of 2018, which we will report a year from now, it'll probably be around the same, 2 to 3. So the second priority has to deal with standards alignment, and what the State Department does is they provide us a survey. And what they do is they say, districts, in order to ascertain whether or not we feel like you've got a standards aligned system, we recommend that you give this survey. So this is a survey that was completed by all high school, middle school, and elementary principals in order to get an understanding of where they feel we are with regards to professional learning, aligned materials, and improving policies to improve instruction. Now last year we were pretty much a 3 everywhere. And I don't feel like that was actually an accurate assessment. I really feel that this year, this level of differentiation based on high school, middle school, and elementary school, as it's described at the bottom with the key, is much more accurate. And I think that has a lot to do with the work that the Curriculum and Instruction Department has done with our new curriculum specialist in digging in deep in what is really standards-based instruction. What are really materials that are standards aligned? How are we adjusting assessments in order to really determine how our students are doing? So I think there's a level of knowledge that's being built with our teacher teams as well as administrators, which is causing kind of this continuum of different answers. So for example, if we look at the English language arts for professional learning, a 4, and if there's nothing else in the box, it means across the board, our principals at all 3 levels felt that that's where we were. But when you take a look at aligned materials, we've got kind of a differing. We've got high schools that feel like they're about a 3 initial implementation, middle school's the same thing, elementary school, I'm really glad that they acknowledge the fact that we've got a lot of materials out there for the elementaries. So that's how we would read the information in each of these columns and each of these rows. The second part of the survey is just different content areas, really. And they want to, these content areas, the question is around progress in implementing the standards. And as we would assume, career technical education and world language would be lower for the elementary schools. It's really not within their area of attention. It's not something they really implement on a daily basis, different than the high school and the middle school. But those are those different indicators there for each of our levels. Priority 3 has to do with parent engagement, and we utilize the California Healthy Kids Survey. And these indicators are all embedded within our LCAP, as Dr. Meyer said. And roughly they're the same as what they were last year. We've got about 88% of parents and guardians that really feel like they're being encouraged to participate at their child's school. We've got about anywhere between 29 to 39% of our schools being represented at our PAC and at our DLAC. And we really want to take a look at that because we do have sometimes several individuals all coming from the same school, but we're really trying to get maximum participation by all of our school sites. So this is something that we're taking a look at to see how can we really encourage more representation across our system. Priority 6 talks about climate, and this again we utilize the California Healthy Kids Survey to start with. We have 76 of elementary, 65% of secondary students agreeing with the statement. I really feel like I am part of the school. What's important to note is there was actually a nice increase in the percentage of secondary students that agreed or strongly agreed with that statement. So that does show that we are shifting the climate in different areas of our district. Chronic absenteeism rate has actually decreased. I'm being, kind of liberal with the 1%. I think it was actually like a 0.8 or a 0.9, but we're going to say 1%. And then attendance rate, we had a 0.3% increase. So kind of the bottom line, what are some highlights that we'd like to take a look at? We've had an increase in the percentage of first graders scoring at or above grade level in ELA and math. Our redesignation rates are also increasing, which is really, really good news. We're increasing the percentage of low income Hispanic and English learner students being able to meet those UC CSU requirements, which is really kind of the gateway and even applying to any of these state colleges. We've also increased the number of 9th graders and those in our underserved student populations that are on track for graduation. And that really means that they have, the most they can fail is 1 semester of a class. And so that's that 55 credit indicator. 8% increase in the number of grade 3 students meeting and exceeding standards on the CASP. And really I want to highlight the work of our kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade teachers, because I really think they're building such a strong foundation that it's really causing our 3rd grade team to really take them from that point and then just accelerate their learning. We've had again a decrease in chronic absenteeism. Parent guardians continue to participate in our advisory committees, and we do have more students of underserved populations passing the algebra class. So that even though the number is a little bit smaller, they're showing more success. So if you'd like to know about what this means for some future program implementation or implications, this is certainly not an exhaustive list. These are things that we were working with the assistant SUPs on in order to highlight for us that at all levels we're taking a look at priority standards and really trying to develop curricular guides in order to support the teachers with their instruction. Common assessments in different forms are being instituted at all different levels. We're trying to establish consistent and regular data analysis protocols so we know what to do with the data once we collect it. We don't just put it in a binder and put it on a shelf. We have an intense focus on classroom walkthroughs, so we really get an understanding about what's happening with regards to instruction in all of our rooms. We're looking to expand the study lab classrooms for professional development instead of sending teachers who are in yawn, really utilizing the expert practitioners in our system, allowing teachers to take a look at that, try it out with small groups of kids, having them playing with teams, and then just letting them go so they can do their best work with their students. Lastly, taking a look at AVID at all levels, which has really just taken flight, because this really focuses on that instructional equity. It doesn't matter what the zip code is. If the students are getting high leverage, rigorous instruction in a college and curriculum culture, they're going to succeed at higher rates. There's much, much more, but we're limited to one slide. So if parents, community members, the public wants to know more about the CAS results or want to go to one-stop shop when it comes to different links, taking a look at the data themselves, they can go to our website and to go to the assessment, research, and evaluation page, and then they can get access to all of these different resources. There's videos also in English and Spanish if families do want to know more about their student results.
Is there also, at a state level, indicators of what the state averages are or the different county averages are when you're looking at these indicators?
For the academic indicators
Yes,
or CAS?
the ones in the first flush shot.
Yes, and we do have that for you if you feel like you would like to review that as well. As in the past, we are a little bit below the county average in just about all those state indicators, and a little bit higher or at the same level as the state indicator.
Thank you. questions?
First, you show some good growth in hard to grow areas such as special education, so that's to be complimented. I did want to go back to one of the slides, slide 18, which is on priority 2 standards alignment. And it's talking about overall results. Did I miss who's giving those opinions on all of those overall results? Because I go down one more. I did have a question. I'm noticing high school, and as a former high school teacher and principal myself, elementary looks like they're pretty good in a number of areas in terms of full implementation. But high school seems to be, which too is beginning development, and standards have been around forever, even though we've shifted them.
Yes.
Is there something there?
So again, these were not teachers filling this out.
That's what I'm wondering.
Right. These
Who
were
gave this assessment?
These were principals.
Okay.
So when we're taking a look at this data, because there are individuals in this audience that really spend quite a bit of time in each of these subject matter areas. And so part of this is we're wondering if it's a communication gap, that maybe as we're working with the different levels, the team's spending a lot of time working with classroom teachers, department chairs, and wondering whether or not we need to also be spending some time working on these instructional areas specifically with our site administrators. And so we feel as if, maybe our next point with this survey is to send it out to department chairs as we're thinking about plans for fall of 2019 in order to get a larger sampling to really, really see that, okay, well, this is what we're getting from one stakeholder group, but then how do we balance out that picture throughout our system?
And when was that input taken? At the end of the year or at the beginning of the year?
Beginning of this year.
So it could be, if it's a new principal, they might not really know all of the things that are happening at their site yet.
Correct.
I think it's also a good practice, and we have been, when you saw the intense going into the classrooms and looking at the walkthrough, to have some kind of outside eyes too that calibrate with the leadership, because otherwise you're just saying, what's your scale, but if you have like some, way of kind of triangulating that data and looking and saying, okay, this person saw this, your office saw this, and then the site leader saw this, that then can help you get to kind of understanding where that number is. So this is kind of the first take at where do you think you are?
That's why I'm pointing to
Yeah.
this at high schools, and Shannon has lots of experience with walkthrough tools, I'm sure. But you're right, they have to be calibrated and the knowledge base has to be strong, but it looks like if the perception is the high school's only at the beginning of development with standards alignment, that's a little...
Well, speaking to that also,
misperception, I hope.
we do have an extra set of eyes that's going to be supporting us with our work with walkthroughs with the high school principal team and co-administrator team. WestEd is actually working with a group in order to create kind of some walkthrough protocols where we can take a look at things with a critical eye, do a little bit of calibration, which I think will just support the look in these classrooms in order to say, okay, what is your 2 the same as my 2? Really, what does this data mean?
What's great about this district administrative team, they're always 3 steps ahead. So you've already thought about this. That's good. That's good. That's where you need to go. Great.
So I think there are lots of positive indicators in here, and I really appreciate the breakdown and the analysis. Certainly good things happening at the 3rd grade level, which my daughter was a 3rd grader last year, so.
Thank you for it.
So we made sure she got a good night's sleep. But the one area that I think probably concerns all board members is around even looking at the UC CSU requirements and the stubborn and persistent achievement gap that Hispanic students, there was quite a bit of improvement in the 2-year range, but still at 28%. And then the one that I think is really alarming is for our African American students, that actually even went down to below 13%, which is abysmal and unacceptable. And so I think that's just something that we as a board and as a school district really need to be looking at, because that cannot continue.
I think it's important too to put this in, and they have it, but to have that conversation with our counselors So when you looked at our African American students in that case, it went from 87 to 85. Across the district, that's very doable. I mean, we have 5 students, do we need to reach out and find 10 or 13 or 20 more students to put into the classes that are more challenging and then support them while they're there? So I think this is a lot of uses, and we need to look at it from many different angles for that very gap closing reason.
So on the parent engagement slide, I was thinking of the Community Advisory Committee, Special Ed. Since we've seen the gains in Special Ed, I was wondering if there was a reason that they weren't included on this particular page, because I seem to recall several new faces at CAC meetings this year, and they do provide a lot of service around parent engagement for our families, particularly in their outreach to parents of special education students.
That's a really good point, because it's grown probably another quarter. It's brought in parents of preschoolers, and I would say also our DLAC has grown, and so we've seen a lot of different types of engagement. But you're right, CAC was not represented in the same way.
And I don't know if was a particular criteria for the selection of the 2 that are presented there.
No, there was not. However, we were just lifting the indicators that have been historically in the LCAP for this particular priority, but I think it's a great observation, and it's something that we should take a look at as we're making refinements as we move forward.
Because for me, if we're making strides in this special education assessments and student performance, is that attributable to this work, and are our parents that work as advisors to special education parents helping through that process? There are many people that are involved in the CAC that or have connections with the CAC that we don't know about because of their mentoring and their work and their guidance with those families.
I was just going to add, Jennifer knows this as well, as the preschool program parents, because I remember the first LCAP that we did, when I was at that point writing in all the different parent engagement things I was aware of, I had included that. So I think that's another possible way to measure, because that is definitely parent engagement. Parents have to be involved in that too, so we could look at that.
I think that's all the questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great work. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yes.
That takes us to our consent agenda. Items listed under consent agenda are considered routine and will be approved or adopted by a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. However, any item may be removed from the consent agenda upon the request of any member of the board and acted upon separately. Is there any request to remove anything from our consent agenda? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Madam President, I move that the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you.
She wants to drag it out.
Okay, that passes 5-0-0. Okay, that takes us to communications. Do we have any cards for that? No. Okay, thank you. Now we're to business and action items. Okay, membership recommendation for Mr. Sean Airbick to serve on the 2010 Measure C Citizens Bond Oversight Committee as a parent representative. there's no comment or discussion on that, I'll entertain a motion. Is he here, by the way? No?
That would be real dedication.
Yeah. I was gonna thank him for hanging in there. Yes.
Madam President, I move the board approve item 19.1, the recommendation for Sean Harvick to serve on the Measure C Citizens Bond Oversight Committee.
Thank you.
Second.
That passes 5-0-0. Okay, and next we have the award of service contract to PhD for design and installation of a commercial exterior parking pole lighting system at College Park High School.
Madam President, I move that the board approve item 19.2, award of service contract.
Second.
Passes 5-0-0. And next is award of service contract to PhD for design of ADA upgrade and modernization of the existing restroom building at Westwood Elementary School.
Madam President, I move the board approve item 19.3, award of service contract.
Second.
That's right. That passes 5-0-0. Next, 19.4, award of service contract to PhD for design and installation of 2 exterior stadium bleachers at Mount Diablo High School.
Madam President, I move the board approve the award of service contract to PhD for design and installation of 2 exterior student bleachers, or stadium bleachers at Mount Diablo High.
Second.
It's a great thing. They've had bleacher issues there.
That passes 5-0-0. And lastly, alignment of board policies and administrative regulations 6143, 6162.52, 6172.1 with the elimination of the KC test. And I want to thank our student that came to the last meeting and informed us that we were behind the times and needed to, and this is a perfect example of it'll possibly be on a future agenda. Here it is.
It would be my honor to say goodbye to the KC. Madam President, I move we approve the alignment of board policies and administrative regs which are listed here with the elimination of the KC test.
Second.
And thank you to our student for being so alert.
And that passes 5-0-0. And I do not think we need a meeting extension. So with that, I will say thank you one last time, Ms. Hanson.
That took every ounce of my concentration. 8 years is a long stretch for me.
And I will just say, tomorrow is election day, so if you haven't done it, please vote. And we do have one thing to sign. We are adjourned. Thank you for hanging with us.